Hi and good evening, everybody. I think what we're working with today is very unusual circumstances, and for all of us, very, very unusual in the way that we are being made to work at home and the way that we are being made to work in offices as well. And of course, some of the responses within us, some of the reactions within us are new even to us. So we're going to talk through one particular feeling that, talking to many people through the COVID times, I understood that there's a sense of anxiety, there's a sense of worry, there's a sense of lack of control. So we're going to share with you just a few simple tips, a few simple ways in which we can manage ourselves a little bit better. And please feel free to write in your questions in the chat box. Please feel free to ask the questions on the Facebook session as well. And here we go with how we can do with working through anxiety. I'm going to take a glimpse first as what has happened right now. 1 month earlier, we were in a very different world. In February 2020, things were going fine. It was looking up. Everything looked positive. And in March and April, 1 month later, what hit us was a whole lot of news about the virus, about the medical statistics of it, of how the economy is going to be impacted. Through April, through May, we realized that no jobs are actually being lost. We probably know friends, or we ourselves have experienced a transition at work, which has been very, very difficult. Profitability in organizations has gone down. So there has been very real threat to ourselves. There's been very bad news on the job front, on the financial front, and we've not been prepared at all to deal with any of this. It hit us so hard from February to June, where we are right now. The world is turned really upside down. And what's happening to all of us with this upside down world is that we are feeling something is unfamiliar, we are feeling something is stressful, we are feeling anxious. So let's talk about this feeling called anxiety. What is it? Right? And it's important to define anxiety that all of us might be feeling and anxiety that might take a clinical form. So it's our bodies or our mind's reaction to the current situation, which is the whole COVID situation, the financial situation, the world situation that we are experiencing right now, and it's completely unfamiliar. It's causing uneasiness, it's causing distress, it's also causing worry in us that am I going to be the next person who may not have a job? Some of us experienced pay cuts, and that doesn't land down very well with us as well. Some of us might be feeling anxiety, which is very generalized, which is just a state of being stressed out. It's not specific to a worry, it's not specific to a job loss, it's not specific to a person, but it's just a generalized sense of dread that we might be feeling. And I do want to distinguish over here that a certain amount of anxiety, if we are feeling it, that's all right, because a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of stress actually helps us to perform better. We study for our exams because we worry, are we going to do well enough or not? What's happening now is because the situation is so much out of our control, because the situation is so unpredictable, because the situation is so volatile, we have a sense of complete helplessness. We have a sense of being out of control. And here's where the anxiety is playing up for many of us. And here's where we need to notice what's happening to us. There are two kinds of anxiety that we would like to look at, depending on how long is the anxiety lasting for you and what is the intensity of the anxiety. And today, for the purpose of this conversation, I'm going to focus on anxiety that will be faced by any of us in a given situation like COVID. We're not going to be going into the clinical symptoms of anxiety too much, but I'm going to make a distinction over here. If the length of time of anxiety goes beyond a week, if it's stopping you from doing your regular work, if it's coming in the way of your routine, then that's the kind of anxiety that needs immediate assistance from a medical trained professional or a psychologist. But if it's anxiety that is responsive to the external environment right now, or it is something that you can pinpoint and the duration is less than a week and the intensity is not such that it's interfering with your work, that's the kind of tips that we're going to be focusing on today. It's important also for us to realize that, where does anxiety come from? It's coming from us perceiving the outside world as dangerous, as perceiving this uncertainty, this loss of control which we are facing right now. It's making our brain stem, which is the most primitive part of our brain, and it's gone into a shock in response to danger. There's either the mechanism that we're activating, which is to fight it out, and we feel very stressed, and you'll find your muscles are clenching and your teeth are gritting and your body will show the anxiety like this. It could also be that we feel completely frozen and we don't know what to do. We don't know how to respond, right? And it could take the form of escape. And that's what Nitisha was talking about, that we just don't want to deal with it. We want to move away. We don't want to be in the situation anymore. So the most primitive part of our brain is sensing this situation as dangerous. It's reacting to it in a fight or a flight or a freeze mechanism. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you will see this take place in each of us. If the response to the COVID situation today is hitting our emotional brain, we will see that we have mood changes. We'll see that we have changes in the way that we come across to other people. And if the changes are hitting us at the thought level, what should I do? How can I manage? What's going to happen to me? You will see that the anxiety is manifested at the thought level. And through the simple tips that we're going to talk about, what we really want to do is engage much more of our mature thought, to engage much more of our Socratic thought, and see how our thought can help us control the anxiety that we are feeling, and how simply addressing it in the body itself can help us manage the anxiety that we are feeling in the body. So what I like to do is to look at the manifestation of this anxiety in 3 different places. Yeah, so the first one, we're looking at anxiety which is felt in the body. So if I am feeling the danger of the world outside, if I'm feeling out of control about the world outside, it may be that I feel it through my body in various different ways. Another person in the same situation may not feel it in the body, but you might notice a change in their mood. And it's different than it usually is. It's new. We hadn't seen this mood in this person 2 months ago, but here it is. And you notice that there's a change, or maybe it's a change you notice in yourself. And anxiety could also manifest for you at the thought level. A large number of thoughts occurring, very rapid, very distressing, very worrying thoughts that are coming to you. It could be that you have experienced anxiety in your body, in your mood, or in your thoughts, or a combination of all of these 3. So if you're someone who's experiencing anxiety physiologically, what might you see? You might see that your sleep pattern's disturbed. You may find it difficult to go to sleep. The number of hours you sleep has changed. Maybe you're sleeping a lot more. Maybe you're waking up too late. You might see a change in your appetite. Some of us experience a huge increase in appetite and anxiety, and others might experience a complete loss of appetite. In the moment, anxiety can cause a very increased rate of your heart. And I think this is something that we say in Hindi also, dil dhadak raha tha, bahut tez. Yeah? The heart rate increasing is also a very commonly accepted way of feeling anxiety in our body. Our breathing changes, and this is a big one. We sometimes don't notice it, but our breathing becomes much more shallow and much more rapid in moments or in periods when we are feeling anxious. And this completely changes the way that we are able to respond. Stomach upsets, another common way that the body could respond to something that's making us anxious. We find our muscles clenching up, and we might find ourselves physiologically either in the fight, where our muscles are clenched and our teeth are together. We might find ourselves in flight or escaping to sleep, or we might find ourselves in freeze and becoming non-responsive to something that we actually might need to respond to. Yeah, so these are all the ways in which you might see physiologically that you're manifesting something that's troubling you, that's worrying you, or that's upsetting you. If we are to look at the next part, which is if it's going to manifest in my mood, yeah, what might I feel? And what you will notice, if you're manifesting anxiety through your mood, you might feel very, very, generally on edge. You feel very edgy. It's a general feeling of anxiousness, and it's very free floating. It's not associated with any person. It's not associated with any event, but it's just there. You could also become a little bit more snappish, a little bit more irritable. You might be prone to continuously worrying about something, and you can see the frown on the person's face. You might notice colleagues have become a little bit quicker to anger, and very small things are getting them triggered off, and small events are causing a trigger which may not have done earlier. You might notice emotional outbursts, and this is something that's not just related to our colleagues. I think we're seeing this in families, with younger members of families as well, where they don't have any other way to express the anxiety that they're feeling or the worry that they're feeling, and we end up having an emotional outburst at the end of a day or the end of a tough day also. Yeah? So here's how we will see that mood might change. In terms of thoughts, these are continuous thoughts, they're disturbing. You may notice that you're easily distracted. You have so many thoughts that you couldn't get your work done, or you have so many thoughts that you're slow and you're unable to focus on the task at hand. Yeah? So this is how you will notice that you're feeling anxious and it's impacting you at the thought level. Now, we're going to go one by one and see what is it that we can really do to manage physiological anxiety. And because so much of anxiety sits in our breath, probably one of the most effective techniques, and no matter where you're experiencing your anxiety, whether it's at thought level or at the mood level or at the physiological level, breathing techniques really, really help. Even for me, whenever I'm sitting down in front of a laptop and I'm going to begin a session, the first thing I do is I center myself and I take a few deep breaths. If there's a situation, if there's a statement, if there is any moment in time that you're feeling anxious, there is a very simple technique called 4-7-8. And what you need to do is take in breath through your nose, count of 4. Then you hold the breath for a count of 7. And you exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. So this 4-7-8 breathing technique is a very simple tool that all of us can use wherever we are. If it's a general sense of anxiety we are feeling, I would suggest practice it about 2 or 3 times a day, just for a few minutes, and it really will help to bring the overall calmness back. Sleep is really critical. And we don't use alcohol or anything else to put us to sleep. A little bit of exercise, a little bit of physical activity goes a long way in helping us to sleep. Getting your sleep routine back and doing at least a minimum of 7 hours of sleep is extremely important, particularly in times like this. Taking care of your diet. Caffeine is only going to raise the anxiety a little bit more because it raises all the physiological markers that are associated with anxiety. So it will increase your heart rate, it will increase your breathing, and it's best avoided if somebody is feeling a little bit anxious. And alcohol and sugar we mentioned already. Very simple mindfulness techniques that we can practice at the workplace. Suppose you're in a meeting, you know there's going to be bad news. It's been 3 months, all of us have not met our targets, Our bosses are worried that we're going to, need to find new ways to make up the targets. And there's this stress for organizations, there's this stress for teams, there's a stress for all people together. So many businesses are changing. My friends in the aviation sector are really wondering what's going to happen to their entire journey. They've spent 20 years in aviation, but the world is changing completely. So when you're negotiating moments like this, it helps to focus very much on the here and now. And that's all that mindfulness means. That focus on the present, focus on today, make a list for today, make a list for tomorrow. And probably in the times that we can't prepare for anything more than just the today. So mindfulness just is telling us, focus on now, focus on today, focus on what you have control over, because really the rest of it, we do not have control over. I'm going to share with you some work that Google does on mindfulness. And this is a beautiful book. It's a program that's run by Chedming Tan. And it's an institute that Google has actually hived off. And they do this session free for so many other corporates. And they've been doing it for a long time, even before we were in the times that we are right now. And the simple acronym they say is Siberian North Rail Road. And what does this mean? It means that the moment that you're feeling out of sorts, the moment you're feeling that this is getting too much for me, the moment you're feeling overwhelmed, stop and breathe. And the reason there is so much focus on breath is because it's the one activity that is both in our conscious control and in our unconscious control. If we don't focus on it, breath happens on its own. But if we focus on breath, we are able to regulate it. So stop and breathe. First step. Second step is notice. And notice what's happening to you. Notice, are you feeling something in your stomach? Notice, is your heart rate going faster? Notice, have you started sweating on the palms? Are you feeling restless? Is your leg shaking? Notice. Notice your body, notice your thoughts, notice your mind. And in that pause, in that stop, you also reflect. Why do you think it's happening? What happened in this moment that's making me feel this way? And then after you take that pause to reflect, that's when you respond to the situation. That's when you act on the situation. So if you have your boss writing you an email, what are we going to do? We've lost 3 months. We haven't been able to do our targets, but we still have to complete the target at the end of 1 year. Here's what we can do. Stop and breathe. Notice how that email is impacting you. Reflect on what is actually possible on today, on tomorrow, in the present moment, and then respond. We're doing our best. This is what we can do today. This is what we can do tomorrow. So that's mindfulness. A little bit more, we will talk about managing mood. And, the one thing, while this is a very commonly used word, mood, how's your mood? Oh, that's a moody person. But there are so many emotions, hundreds and hundreds of them. And it's sad that we actually are not able to label them. Yeah. So the first step to managing one's mood is to recognize what is the emotion that you're feeling. And very often I would ask somebody, how are you feeling? And I would get an answer, good. I'll get an answer, fine. But neither good nor fine are emotions. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling worried about my future. I am feeling terrible about the damage that the vase breaking has caused. And these are emotions, right? So I think if we are regulating ourselves, we first need to recognize and learn the vocabulary and name it, right? So let's say we name an emotion I am feeling right now, and that emotion is worry. I am feeling worried. I am feeling worried about what's going to happen 3 months from now? Will business be good or bad? Will I be able to make the money that I need to make? Will I still have my job or not? Right? And is this worry, is this a helpful worry? And if it's not, then what I really need to do is to regulate it. Regulate it by trying consciously to do something that will change my mood. Maybe take a walk, maybe move away in my mind and think of something completely different. I'm grateful for what I have today. I'm grateful for the potential to earn money. I'm grateful for the savings that I have today, and really switch to regulate this emotion that I'm feeling right now, because this emotion of excessive worry is not helping me right now. Right? So recognizing that this is an emotion and it's not helping me, and moving away from it to something very, very different. There's lovely research and a wonderful app that I would like to suggest to all of you. The research comes from Yale University, and the person who does this research is a gentleman called Mark Brackett. And the app, which will help you both recognize and regulate mood, is called Mood Meter, right? So I'm just saying it once more. It's Mood Meter, and we will also put that in the chat box. It's through Yale University. It's available for a very, very low price. It's hardly anything. And what you can do with it is notice your mood. And within the Mood Meter, they have 100 emotions. Yeah, 100 moods that are already written in there. And they have quadrants. There are low energy quadrants, which are pleasant, high energy quadrants, which are pleasant, high energy quadrant, which is unpleasant. And you can change by following just 2 steps the mood that you are in currently. So here's a very simple tip. Have this app on your phone, use the Mood Meter, and it will help you not only regulate, but also to recognize the emotion that you are feeling. Moving away, walking away is a very simple space. Just step out of the situation that's causing the mood to change right now, or in your own mind, move away to a place which gives you calm. It could be your favorite holiday destination. It could be something that you really enjoyed doing maybe a year ago. It could be thinking about a person that you really enjoy spending time with. And if it's your thoughts that are really troubling, if it's your thoughts that are going on nonstop, if it's your thoughts that are, causing you to really, really stress out, then you need to challenge yourself. And this is really the only way to work with thoughts. That what are you thinking? Are you thinking the worst as though it's a fact, but really it's not a fact? And what you need to challenge yourself and say is, yes, I'm worried about this. I'm worried about my financial future. But the fact is, I have enough savings for this next 6 months. I will be fine for the next 6 months. Is this thought helpful for me or not helpful for me? And again, if it's not helpful, present yourself by writing it down. That is this really a fact, or is it something that is coming in the way of me being the most productive I can? Because if anxiety takes over, if thoughts cause the anxiety, which is too much for us to negotiate, we're actually not going to be productive. It's going to interfere with the work that we need to get done. And we go down a downward spiral, and people around us will notice, and they are likely to also feel equally concerned about us. Right? So if your thoughts are taking you down a spiral and they're causing interference, then really challenging your own thoughts by writing them down, and just examine for 2 things. Are they facts, and are they helping you? Are they helping you deal with your current work? Are they helping you deal with the current situation that you might find yourself in? One very simple but very effective way in which we can manage ourselves is to hold on to something which is permanent for us. Because the world is changing so fast, I think we each have a person in our lives who's permanent. We each have some positive energy from at least one person who is there for us unconditionally, and making contact with this person on a regular basis, whether it's a video chat, whether it's a phone conversation, it's a text, or it's the person you're living with. This connection, this connectedness is so important right now. The groundedness, the energy that it will bring to you is really, really tremendous. So focus on it. If you're with that person, drop everything else and just be with that person. You don't know how it might be recharging your batteries. It might give you the energy to deal with something outside, which is very, very difficult for us to deal with. Yeah. And in the same scheme of being connected, here are some things that you might like to notice in people around you. If somebody at home and you see them changing a little bit, yeah, you see that their appetites change, their sleep patterns changed, your colleague at work is eating alone, they are not focusing so much at work, they're looking listless, the way they dress up has changed. So if you're noticing things like this, please reach out. You can connect. And they may be somebody you don't know very well, but you notice these signs in them. Please reach out, have a conversation, just a sidebar. Maybe they need just to talk to somebody. Maybe they need a professional person to talk to, because if the anxiety is lasting for more than a week, if it's so debilitating that you can't manage to come a little bit out of it, then you might need a professional. And most organizations at this moment are offering employee assistance programs where you can speak to a mental health professional. During this time, there are lots of free helplines that are available for support. You could suggest to your colleague that they might like to reach out over there. And to anybody who's experiencing any of these symptoms, you might like to suggest to them, if it's going beyond a week, the length of time or the intensity of the anxiety, if it's too much, then really an EAP or a professional is something that you might like to consider at this moment. And I want to end this part before we move into the question answers to say that even one conversation, even one connected conversation, even one moment in which you can reach out to a person can change their mood, can change their thoughts, can make them feel a whole lot better. So as much as connecting to your significant others can support you and ground you and make you feel better, your intervention to somebody else, your reaching out for that one chat, for that one conversation may affect somebody and make them really smile and bring a change in their day, and you don't know that. So that's all about how we can manage and what are the simple ways in which we might like to take a little bit of control in the world that we are finding is way, way beyond our control right now. So I'm going to stop my share and happy to have a discussion and questions from everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Urvashi. I think that was really insightful. Got a lot of understanding on, what is anxiety and, how is it that we can help one another, or how do we recognize the signs of feeling anxious? I think that's the most important. But, guys, all of us can definitely, add in more questions in the chat box. I can pick those up and, ask, Urvashi for you. The first question, though, comes from my end. I just wanted to understand, Urvashi, how does one, recognize, what is the distinction between, having perhaps a regular anxious behavior or, probably when it escalates? How do I distinguish between the two, and when is it that I say I need help? I think that is very important to understand the distinction. What do we do about that?
So I'm going to just play two simple rules of thumb. If the anxiety is lasting too long, if it's going in duration for more than a week and it's really interfering with the day-to-day work that you should be able to get done, that's a cause of worry. or if the intensity of the anxiety is so much that you're not able to cope even in that moment, right? And sometimes what happens, we may have such rapid breathing and so much sweating that we have to drop everything else, right? And it's our heart beating too fast, our breathing's going too rapid, and we can't sit, we can't stand when we're sweating profusely. So if you're having symptoms like that, you might be having a panic attack and you need to consult a professional at that point in time. And if it's of an intensity which feels uncomfortable, but you can live with it, then there is something that you could do by yourself to manage it through the week or the days that you're feeling it.
Okay. All right. That's great. I think I've received a question on personal chat here. Somebody asks, is anxiety always a bad thing? Very interesting question. Is it always a bad thing?
Yeah. I actually spent so much time talking about, what you can do about anxiety. It's almost like we're wishing it away. But it's important to look at the other side. When we have too little anxiety and we're just not interested, particularly in organizations, you'll find people don't perform. So it's actually a moderate amount of anxiety, which is very helpful. It makes us perform better. It makes us worry about, are we doing well enough? And it makes us do a great job. Too low anxiety, if we are too chilled out and too relaxed about something, we're not going to put our best foot forward. So somewhere in the middle is an optimum amount of anxiety. It's when it starts interfering with life, if it becomes too uncomfortable to bear, or it manifests in too many physiological symptoms, that's when we need to worry about it.
Got it. So Arun here asks us, how to control anxiety when someone is stressed out. You've discussed this, at length in the discussion. If you could just quickly summarize the points for all of us once again.
Right. So a quick summary, I think to manage anxiety, the first one is just breathing. In that moment, whatever's causing your anxiety, let it wait, let it stop. And if you have Google's acronym, Siberian North Railroad, just stop and breathe. Notice what's happening to you, reflect on it, and then respond. So take a pause, take a moment, and what you call this moment is a meta moment. Just take a moment to pause and then respond. Mindfulness helps you by focusing on exactly what's happening right now. Don't worry about, 10 months into the future. Think about the immediate present. Stay grounded to the immediate moment. And the third one is to take a short walk. If it's in that moment that you're feeling it, step out, take a short walk. If you can't step out, close your eyes and just, go away to a place that's comfortable for you, or it's vibrant for you, or it's energetic with you. And the fourth one, stay connected to the people who recharge your batteries, and keep connecting to the people and make sure that you talk to them, you spend time with them, you connect with them in whichever way you like, because this is what's really recharging your batteries for you to take on the world right now.
Awesome. That's great. I think when you talk about recharging batteries, there's a quick question, that comes to my head, and I've received another query here. We're all sitting at home, we're all digitally connected, and I feel cause of, a lot of anxiety for us is our gadgets, our laptop and our phone that we, usually sleep on. At night, I think there are two questions that I have here. Perhaps you can just quickly share a pointer or two with us as to what do we do about this increasing intrusion of gadgets in our life. That's one. And second is that how do we take care of when we're not able to sleep at night and we think to ourselves, what is it that we do? I mean, I'm sleeping at night and I'm thinking, oh, I can't sleep. What do I do with those thoughts, and how do I calm myself? Because I feel that's also somewhere anxious behavior.
Yeah, sure. So I think gadgets is a very, very critical piece to look at. And because we've all been indoors and we're working through gadgets have become so much, part of us. It's almost an extension of us right now, and we do need them for work. What used to happen earlier is we would go into an office, meet colleagues, interact, have meetings, and have our gadgets. And then maybe the gadget became a way in which we unwound at home, watched a movie, listened to a song, or caught up on something that we like to do. So we've lost the connectedness that we had in offices. We've lost the interaction that we had by meeting colleagues. And we have continued with the gadgets in the way that they were an aid for relaxation. So I think if our gadget has substituted our work, then we also need to substitute our connectedness in different ways, which could just mean going out, connecting with nature. A short, just sit on the bench. You don't want to walk, sit on the bench wherever you can. Just go down below your building and experience nature for whatever you are able to see. No gadgets after 10 p.m. is something that I think is a very, very useful tip to give. Not many of us will follow it. But the later at night that we're seeing a gadget, the blue light from the gadgets is going to interfere with our sleep. So I think gadgets is really a no, because we're doing so much of our work on the gadgets right now. We really need to shut it down and interact with something other than our gadget. And if it's books, if it's listening to music, if it's talking to somebody, if it's cooking a little bit, these are all ways in which to wind down at night. And if the thoughts are coming to you, if you are worried about how much sleep am I getting, you're actually going to interfere with whatever little sleep you could get. The thing to do again is, just try and focus and pay attention to your body and do a body scan. Which part of me is feeling not relaxed? Do I notice that my, my legs are clenched? Do I notice that my heart rate is a little bit faster? So when you're thinking these thoughts, I can't sleep, do a body scan mentally and try and locate in your body where you find that a little bit of stress might be, jammed up, and see if you can relax your body consciously. Can you release the muscles which are jammed up a little bit consciously?
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that should help. A body scan should definitely help. Personally, I've also understood that meditation, just closing eyes and just perhaps breathing, as you've, multiple times suggested over the discussion, will definitely help. I think that's it in terms of questions. There is Mr. or Miss Jagdish here who asks if there is a helpline in Pune. I think we'll be happy to share, some more details on that with you on an email. We have your mail ID where there's a question on, sharing of the presentation. We will definitely get back to you on this as well. I think, Urvashi, with this, we come to the end of our discussion. It's time. Thank you very much for your, your advice and your, discussion, all the details that you've shared with us. I think really, really helpful. Should help us, and we'll also send out details to everybody on the chat and otherwise who've registered to see what is it that can be done in this regard. So I think we have I'm getting a lot of personal messages on the chat asking for a session repeat. Quite a few people have asked that. We will definitely get back to you on this. We have an episode 2 coming up of the wellness series next week Friday. We'll keep you guys posted. Urvashi, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And I wish you have a good weekend. Thanks a lot. With this,
thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Urvashi.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. That was
Take
very
care.
nice.
Thanks. Bye.
You.